Podstock.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the show. I did one special there for Steve on the countdown because I went to my barber. You know, I've talked about him, the only Commanders fan that I actually know.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I ever want to use his name. I wouldn't do that without asking. And so,
You could promote his shop if you want, though.
Yeah, PR Partners in Old Town. They do a good job.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So I was there, and he told me instead of like just doing a normal countdown to distract Steve, I should flick Steve off.
I didn't even notice you did that. To be honest, I was too busy throwing my gang signs to
Yes.
even notice.
Also, he confirmed his age with me. He is in fact 43. So, because we were discussing that last show. That was literally the first thing he said to me when I walked in. You know, he was like, I'm like, oh, you listened. Okay.
Hey, he's a regular listener.
He is a regular listener. So, yeah.
You can tell him the plan didn't work because I didn't even notice that you gave me a finger. I was too busy throwing my gang signs.
Yep.
Which I grew up with, as everyone knows.
Right. On the mean streets of
a whole lot of different places.
Yes. That's the hard part, Steve. Every time you guys moved, you had to join a new gang. Like, it's very difficult.
Well, I mean, when you're as tatted up as I am, it just kind of follows you. That's all.
Right. You got the teardrops. So many teardrops.
I was just going to say that.
They're hidden. They're hidden. So you guys can't see them, but you're like, all the logos are just, it's not visible.
Oh, like the Russian mafia thing.
Yeah.
Where they got like the stars all over their chest and stuff.
You want to be quiet about that. You want to.
Like that guy in Equalizer, right? The movie Equalizer.
I was thinking of Viggo Mortensen's character in that movie he did about the Russian mob, and I can't remember. The one where he ends up in a fight in a sauna naked. It's very weird.
I will say randomly that The Equalizer is a series that got worse and worse as it went. Every movie, the first one was great. The second one was okay. And this TV show they have is ridiculous. And also not the actual character from The Equalizer.
Right. The only one I even knew about was the Arnold one. Is that the first one or the second one?
They all were Denzel Washington.
Oh, what am I thinking of? I'm thinking of Eraser.
Did you see the third one there? A third Equalizer?
Yeah, I think I did. It didn't impress me. I don't even remember it. I mean, I did see it.
I thought
there is
that
a third.
one,
now I know you guys are talking about. Yeah, there is a third.
I thought that one did a nice recovery job from the second one. The second one I didn't like very much at all. The third one wasn't that bad, but the first one was very good though.
Yeah.
Now, I thought the criticism of the second one was like there was a whole thing where in the first one he technically never uses a gun in the entire one, and then the second one he's just shooting up the place. Is that kind of? I remember that.
The big picture criticism is that it was dumb.
Well, sure. Well, I mean, look, most sequels are. Like
they all tend to go downhill.
Yeah. You can count the number of movie series that are better in the second movie on one hand.
Star Wars.
Star Wars, Aliens. Most people like Aliens, although I like
personally.
Up until the recent Star Wars stuff.
I actually rank New Hope as the best one, but I know a lot of people think Empire Strikes Back is the best one.
Yeah.
I was always a Return of the Jedi guy. Return of the Jedi I loved. That one was great.
Sure.
Well, and I just prefer to think that none of the other movies exist after that one.
Right. Yes. Just watch those three. Don't.
You know what's sad though is that when Force Awakens came out, I thought they had something. I thought they were going to do something pretty special here. And I thought the character they were building with Daisy Ridley was going to really, really be fantastic because she played the role very, very well. And then the second one came in and Leia made herself float back inside. I was just like, come on, man.
It fell apart in the yeah.
It was brutal in that second one.
The Godfather though, there's a series where the second
I'm embarrassed to say that I've not seen Godfather 2 or 3. I've seen the first one. I've never seen the other two.
You gotta take a day, Steve. Just watch it. It's worth it.
Yeah, they're only 3.5 hours each long.
I'd need an entire day to get through them. I know.
Well, you don't have to don't watch number 3. It's awful.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Godfather. Is that the one with Al Pacino?
Al Pacino's in all of them. It's the one where Sofia Coppola is in it. Because Francis Ford Coppola had his daughter, like, he wanted to thrust her into stardom.
That's things sure to go wrong, no doubt.
Yeah. She's made some good movies as a director, but she's not good in that.
Mhm.
Yeah. But yes, take some time and watch The Godfather 2. Steve, please. Like,
I mean, I might get around to it. I'm not a huge fan of old movies, is the thing.
okay, it's one of the best movies ever made. And not
A lot of
even, like,
times when
AFI
people tell
list,
me
it just is.
this is one of the best movies ever made, usually they're terrible. That's the problem. If a critic says watch this, my rule is I probably don't need to watch it.
I'm not a critic. I'm just saying.
Right.
It's
The second one is fantastic. It's a,
Yeah.
a
Because
great.
the first
I mean,
one, to be honest, the first one drug on a little bit too long.
well,
I
the
mean,
first
it's-
one did its job. It introduced the character who was supposed to. It built it up
Right.
into into Al Pacino and the way it was supposed to and everything. And the second one completed the story. I look at it, completed the stories perfectly. The third one was, hey, let's get a trilogy out there.
exactly.
That's all the third one was.
Yep.
Do you think any Washington players have not seen The Godfather like me?
Honestly, yeah, because they're all 20-somethings and they don't have
Probably.
the attention span.
That's probably true. That's probably true.
You know, like I it would not shock me if we took a poll of all the rookies and at least half haven't seen The Godfather.
Or even heard of it.
Oh no, they've heard of it. They just
Some
never
of
seen
them, I bet you some of them haven't heard of it.
I'd find that hard to believe.
I think some 21-year-old rookie who's really heard of The Godfather.
Yes, I think they've heard of it. I don't think they've seen it. Um,
I think some of them may say, "You mean that guy? Is friends with my parents?"
oh, their literal Godfather? Yeah,
Yeah,
sure. Yeah. I don't know. Do people still have Godfathers like that? Like, is it as a serious role?
I had a Godfather, yes.
I mean, technically, I am a godfather to a couple of my friends' kids, but like,
I don't
it's
think
not
that
like
really
a serious
means
thing.
anything, though.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Well, we should talk about I guess training camp at some point. By the way, folks, we're gonna vamp a lot. This is a light show in terms of content. There's not a lot
We've been
going on
talking
with-
about movies for
Yep.
5 minutes. So.
Yep. I will throw this out there because I mentioned it to the guys earlier, and Steve wanted me to mention it. If you are listening to this and it's January 6th, hey, it's the 80th anniversary of D-Day, which is probably one of the most important days in our military's history, maybe even in the history of the world. Let's be honest. That is
Certainly the modern world.
Yes, it is a pivotal moment in the modern history of the world. So
I think
let's remember that for a
people,
sec.
some people, a lot of people probably don't appreciate the magnitude of what those people did and went through.
Yeah, it was a
And
literal
almost
day of
all
hell.
of them are gone now.
Yeah.
And
Right.
there may be one or two left, I don't know, but almost they're all, if they are, they're 100 years old by now.
Well, I mean, it's 80 years ago, so technically there were a few people who signed up underage, but they're probably mostly 98 plus.
Right. Yeah, but it's just, rest in peace to all those people, and I hope everybody can take a minute to remember what they did for the world, the country, and the world.
Also, go watch, Steve, if you've not seen this, a show called Band of Brothers. Fantastic TV show.
Oh,
I
it's
have
a
seen
great
that.
series.
I have
Very,
seen that.
very good series.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and Saving Private Ryan is the beginning of Saving Private Ryan is one of the classic war.
Yeah. Most people
sequences
say
ever
it's
made.
one of the most realistic depictions of what
Right.
happened there ever on film. Both Spielberg films, arguably the greatest director of all time. So,
And you got to wonder how many of these guys are turning in their graves, seeing where our country's headed to today.
A lot of them.
I'm sure.
He's like, I
There
gave my
are.
life for that.
I'm sure there are, but I'm sure that they felt that way like 8 or 9 times over in their own lifetime.
That's
And
true.
by
That
the
is
way,
very true.
in all sorts of different directions too. Because let's be honest, some of those guys who served then were probably not great people themselves. They were just thrown into it. They're humans. They probably had some terrible opinions.
Most of
Yeah,
them
sure.
got drafted out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They got thrown into it. They didn't have a choice. Yeah. It is a big moment in our country's history, though, that I think we overlook, honestly. stuff like
It
that.
should be a holiday, probably, or a day of remembrance. Maybe would be a better way to put it.
I mean, we don't do it for Gettysburg because that's the 4th of July anyway. But like those are probably the two big ones, right?
Well, like the Emancipation Proclamation, maybe, but I think that was in January. It's a weird. I know it's a weird day.
We do officially celebrate it as Emancipation Day. Like it's an official. No one gets off or anything, but
Yeah.
And Juneteenth is coming up, which is now an official
Well, see,
holiday.
Juneteenth's a made-up holiday. I mean, I get you want to have some date to recognize the end of slavery. I mean, I'm down with that, but you kind of make up a day that some people in Texas were not. I mean, that's a stupid. Again, there should be something more grounded in history than that, I think.
It's the closest they have to a grounded history.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah.
Technology was different. All right, let's shift focus. We should talk.
Actually, the one thing I like to say is
go.
Because I've been seeing Benjamin Albright having to deal with this on Twitter, which is kind of funny watching his feed. To everyone who, I don't care what your stance is on Pride Month, that's not the conversation. But the argument that they have a month for the Pride month and they don't have anything for the veterans. May, the month of May is something is an entire month to honor veterans. It's been in existence for quite a long time. Granted, do we celebrate it like we should? Probably not. I would do a lot more, but let's relax.
Yeah, I saw people.
I was today years old when I heard anything about May being a month for veterans, other than Memorial Day. And all sincere, I've never heard that before this moment.
Well, see,
and I've been around forever.
It's not something that probably really gets the attention that it should for the month.
No, it doesn't.
And to be honest with you, most service members, I know I am, are kind of on the humble side. I'd rather you not spend a whole month doing all that for me anyway. I'd rather not, but it's there. At least it's recognized. It's
John McCain is the one who put it together in 1999. So that's how long that's been going on.
Who knew?
So, I mean, not a lot of people. I knew about it because I'm a political nerd, so like I pay attention to that kind of stuff. And Dave knew about it because he was tweeting with Ben Albright. I saw that about everything going on.
Right.
People, I don't know why people were going after Benjamin. They go after him for weird things, man.
National Military Appreciation Month. I've never heard of this.
Yep.
Anyway,
it is a thing apparently. So I guess that would have been, if it was 99, I guess that would have been Clinton. So might have been Bush who signed it in. I don't know. Yeah. I don't think it was controversial to do that. But let's be fair though. There's a bunch of made up holidays and months out there that are kind of dumb. There's like 12 national pizza days, I think. So
I could get myself in a lot of trouble by naming some dumb holidays.
Yes. There's a lot of dumb holidays. And they're not really holidays. They're like official days of remembrance.
Can we please get to football before I get myself in trouble?
All right, fine. Trying to get Steve in trouble, and he's not having it. All right.
Not today.
So let's start with the big news with the Washington Commanders, because who's not having a good month is Brandon McManus, because he's out of a job. He was cut. Dan Quinn spoke on it briefly today in his presser at training camp or OTAs. He basically, to summarize, said that the fact that the team didn't know, or McManus didn't come to the team and talk to him about it until the story broke, is why they decided they needed to move on. Which I can understand a little.
He said, no, wait a minute. So he's expecting McManus to come to him and tell him about it?
Yeah. They didn't like finding out about it through the press instead of
licensed practicing attorney. Brandon McManus needs to say 0 things to anybody, because all of it, he confesses something to Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn's going to get subpoenaed and have to testify. Brandon McManus cannot tell anybody anything about this, and it's totally wrong and unrealistic to think that. Now, look, I said before on the show that last week, I don't think it's fair or appropriate to judge and convict somebody on the basis of a petition. And I still think that, but from Washington's standpoint, they probably just say, look, we don't want to deal with it. We don't care if this is true or not true. You're out. We'll find another kicker. End story. We want nothing to do with it. I mean, and they have the right to do that. But I think Dan Quinn criticizing McManus for not saying anything to him is totally misguided.
I mean, that's fine.
The one thing I actually meant to share with you guys, because I know you probably research this a lot better than me, or faster than me, is the fact that apparently there was a report by our favorite journalist out there from Pro Football Talk saying that McManus release was influenced by Josh Harris's $3.9 billion stake in Atlas Air. I don't know a whole great deal about that, but apparently, Mike Floyer was talking about that in terms of, now I'm looking at it, maybe Josh Harris has information that most aren't privy to, and he has a little bit more of a clearer mind or mindset of what happened. Maybe he knows a little more about what happened, and maybe he did influence it, maybe he didn't. But there's that possibility that Josh Harris may have had the influence in that.
Right.
Possibly.
So the detail, the little bit of the detail in that is that Harris's company that he co-founded, Apollo Global Management, which is like his, financial thing. They are a shareholder, a majority shareholder, I believe, in that airline company.
Yes.
So.
Now I was trying to remember the name of his group too. Thank you for that.
Yeah. I jotted it down for that exact reason. Yeah. So, yeah. Would it be unusual for Harris to maybe make a phone call to the airline company and say, "Hey guys, this is your big boss. Tell me what happened."
I mean, it's gonna the problem. I mean, they could tell him orally.
Yeah.
But the idea of them putting something in writing, it's gonna get subpoenaed.
Right. Yes.
So they would. I mean, that's not so he can have a phone call or something and say, "Hey, is this true? Is this true?"
Right.
I mean, who knows? I just maybe so. I'm just trying to make, and maybe it is appropriate in this case, but just generally speaking, I'm firmly against judging someone on the basis of a petition that hasn't even been to court at all.
Sure.
Right.
I wouldn't be. I would assume Harris is not dumb. They're not going to put this in anything in writing. Like anything. If he made that phone call, it's a phone call.
I don't know. Non-attorneys sometimes are dumb about evidence and lawsuits and stuff.
Yeah. Maybe it's because I've worked for the government my whole life. When you make phone calls versus when you put things in email. It's one of the first things you learn working in a bureaucracy.
Hey, Dr. Anthony Fauci just was shown this week to have been greatly concerned about things like FOIA.
Yeah. Well, everyone's so paranoid about FOIA, and I'm a pro FOIA guy in general. I love FOIA, but all right. So, yeah.
So McManus is out now. Let me just, from a contact perspective, they ended up with $1.5 million of dead money, but they did save a couple $1 million by cutting McManus.
Yeah.
So right now, you guys are going to get into the new kicker, and I'll save it.
Right.
But I don't have his contract. It's got to be a minimum salary contract. So they're up to around $44 million in free cap space. And then if you take into account the rookies that have not been signed, which is the top 4 basically, now we are down to somewhere around 35.
Yeah. Well, enough money so they could sign 35 more kickers, frankly.
Well, they don't have the room on the roster for 35 more kickers.
Yeah, I know.
You don't have the room on the roster for any more players.
Right.
Yeah, but does a kicker really count as a full roster spot, though?
Yes.
Unfortunately, it does. I think they have a second long snapper they can get rid of if they need to.
No, they got rid of that guy.
Oh, they did? Okay.
He's already gone. They're down. They've cut everybody. At this point, they'd have to cut a real player.
Dang it.
Well, they had like 5,500 defensive linemen, as we talked about before. So.
Yeah, that would be the position to go to.
Yeah.
So who's the new kicker, kids?
All right. So the new kicker they signed is Ramez Ahmed, and he is a former kicker from Nevada, and he last played in the USFL/UFL because I think he's technically played in both for the Pittsburgh team, which is now defunct. That was last year, and then he played for Birmingham this year a little bit.
You want his
Ahmed,
NFL stats?
I have his stats.
Oh, you do? Go ahead. Tell the people.
Well, okay, let's just say. Let me start with the positive. I'm gonna do this. Give a good thing and a bad thing.
Positive is he's never missed a kick in the NFL.
Yes, he has not, because he did play for Green Bay for one game, and I don't believe he ever had to kick a ball the entire time.
He actually made 6 kickoffs in that game.
Yeah, but I don't think he even he didn't make any actual field goals.
He has no field goals and no extra points on his record,
which is wild. Perfect. Like, did they go for it every time? I don't even know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So after you talk about the stats, you'd understand why they went for it all the time.
Yes, he's very strong. I will say he's very strong because he has made a 61-yard field goal in his career with Pittsburgh. That's his career long, is 61 yards. Yeah. You guys saw the look on my face. The reason is I pulled his game stats. He actually does have a stat on his record. He's got a tackle on. He has a tackle.
He has 1 tackle.
I didn't pull those. Dang.
Yeah, and what's really, really weird is that game was week 10 in 2022. They lost to the Dallas Cowboys 31-28, but yet this Ahmed guy did not make a kick.
That's so weird.
Maybe there was someone else. Okay, you guys are gonna make.
You're gonna have to deep dive into that. So let me just say he's very strong, but his career accuracy. He was a 75% completion on field goal kicker in college at Nevada. Now, maybe it's the dry heat out there. I don't really know, because that actually is better than his professional career. In the USFL, his accuracy rating was 63.6%. Now, if you're a quarterback and you complete that percentage with your passes, that's a good day. But for a kicker, you don't want to be in the 60s in terms of your accuracy rating.
Yeah, no.
So, my gut tells me that they were like, "Oh, we cut our kicker and we have OTAs tomorrow. Who can we get on an airplane?"
Okay, I have the answer to this after looking at it. So he only did kickoffs in this game.
What?
Mason Crosby was Green Bay's kicker, but Mason Crosby had a sore back, and so they let Mason Crosby
like my age. So yeah,
Mason Crosby did the field goals, extra points, and they let Ahmed do the kickoffs.
Interesting.
Mystery solved.
Interesting.
Doesn't make me feel any better about his talent.
No, makes me feel worse.
Yeah. We're going to make the kicker with the sore back kick because we trust you so little. That's what that says.
I mean, it's one of those things. I feel like you used to see that in the NFL in like the 70s more, when you'd have like a third guy do place kicks. That feels very like old timey to me.
He just trot Joe Theismann out there to
do it. Joe will do anything.
Washington did once, if I recall.
Well,
come on,
punt, didn't he?
Oh, that was right. It was a punt. Yeah, you're right. It was
that one career tackle shows position flex, man. He could be a linebacker, or something.
Actually, I would argue it probably shows he made a bad kickoff that probably didn't have any carry to it, which forced him to have to make the punt to
hit
prevent
somebody?
a touchdown.
Hey, regardless of how he got that tackle, he completed a tackle, which was much better than most of our linebackers last year.
I mean,
it's true.
Dave, how many 5'11", 190-pound linebackers do you know of in the NFL?
This guy.
There's one.
Got to start somewhere, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think you guys are right. And so the guy doesn't obviously have a professional level record, okay? And this is very clearly what you said, Alex, is the truth. We need to get a kicker in here, and this is the guy that's available, because you can't just sign a USFL player off the roster right now.
Right. So we had a bit of a debate on Twitter that Dave and I were part of about that. And somebody from USFL's like semi-professional media because they don't really have professional media.
We were on USFL media for like 2 games. Remember? Wasn't that the USFL?
No, that was the Arena Football League.
Oh,
Different
sorry.
thing.
Same.
Yeah. But someone chimed in and let us know that in fact the USF or the league rules with their contracts say that the players can't officially sign with NFL teams until after their championship game in 2 weeks. So it's a holding pattern until that happens. I went to the final home game in DC, by the way, and I remember most of it. I sat in the beer snake section and contributed, So,
Nice.
So if I had to take a stab at it, I would say Ramiz Ahmed has the job for now. They may bring some guys in on a tryout or something. Some of these other like USFL reject types, and
right,
have them in there
they
for
can
a
do
day
tryouts. They can't sign.
That's what I'm saying, and just see who's better out of these guys. Because at this point, I doubt there's any pro kickers left.
Well, Mason Crosby's still technically active, like he hasn't officially retired, but he's 40-something-year-old.
Yeah, he's like 100. Yeah,
you don't want him. He's 40 and he has a bad back, as we discussed.
I wonder if Tressway can place kick.
He might have to for a little while.
We should have asked him. Yeah.
I didn't think to go and look at Spot Rack or Spot Rack or whoever, because they do a good job of who's still a free agent.
Oh, you want me to?
No, I'll do it while we're talking here. But yeah, because there's just not a lot of options.
I just think they need to stick with. I think they need to stick with the USFL anyway. There's some good kick like that kid Bates.
Yeah,
I mean, they're actually some good
360 yarders. Yes.
You two are the only one other than Mr. and Mrs. Bates who's aware of who you're talking about.
Oh, his name's been all over.
Yeah.
Twitter for our fan base anyway. That's how I kind of knew about him.
Yeah.
I'm sure Alex obviously knows a lot more about him than I do, but
not obviously. I mean, he's a kicker. Here's the thing: as much as I love special teams, kickers, it's like baseball, man. You just look at the back of their card and say, "All right, what's his batting average? Okay, good. That's the guy. Just go with him."
I'm just
it
talking
doesn't
in reference.
matter as long as they're
talking
accurate.
in reference that you watch the USFL a lot more.
I
than
do.
I have.
Yes, I watch it. And I go to games and spend too much money, and then I, don't remember the end of the game and have to look up the score the next day.
That's a good day.
It was a good day. There are no good free agent kickers right now. There's, I don't even know most of the names of the guys who I'm seeing who are.
I can't even get Spotrac to work right now.
Yeah. Randy Bullock is former Giants player, and he
was good at one point, but
maybe.
I mean, look, we can do this forever. I don't think this is the end of the world necessarily. They will stumble on someone else.
Yeah.
Maybe this Ramiz Ahmed can kick. Give him a chance. It's only we're in OTAs for goodness sakes right now. Let's just see what happens.
Here's the thing that you got to remember. There's 120-something college football teams. They all have had kickers who've, graduated in the last
most of
2
them
years.
stink, though.
Most of them do stink, but you can get by with at least finding one, I'd think.
Not in the NFL, you can't.
I don't know. Is a college field goal much wider?
Am I wrong? A little wider, yeah. It is wider.
Okay,
yeah.
I thought so. That's the problem. College, get on the same page. It's their
Change your
problem.
rules, college.
Yeah, fix your thing. Not the NFL, who can't find good kickers. We should mention the big story from training camp that everyone was freaking out about today, amongst the reporters. The team has gotten rid of the old AstroTurf practice field. It was the last AstroTurf practice field in the NFL in Washington, and Dan Snyder was too cheap to get rid of it. So Josh Harris had to get rid of the old AstroTurf field.
So what is it now? Grass?
Right now it's a big muddy hole, but it's going to become a grass.
It's going to be grass.
Yeah. Somebody, I think it was Mitch Tischler, said that it was going to cost about $2 million to fix it up and turn it into a real field.
Right.
I don't know, man. I mean, okay. I don't know if it affects the team or the fans that much. I think it's probably good that they got with the program.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's not like anyone plays on AstroTurf anymore.
And it's
Like, I
horrible
think-
in the knees.
Yeah, oh yeah, well, horrible on everything, especially when you
Yeah.
got tackled on it. Was the Vet the last real AstroTurf stadium? Am I right about that? It might have been.
I think that was
Um,
basically
It was like concrete underneath the
cement
tarp
with,
over it,
yeah, right.
Yeah, with carpeting.
Yes.
Yes, but
That
that's
was
what
brutal.
AstroTurf really was, for the most part.
I'm
it was
actually
the Vet,
surprised there were more injuries at the vet than what there were.
I mean,
be
there were a
honest.
lot. There were definitely a lot, man. The only fun thing, did you ever get to run on AstroTurf?
No.
No.
I think I played a game on AstroTurf somewhere or some turf.
You literally, like, it's noticeable how much faster you can run on it. Like, I remember goofing around playing some flag football on AstroTurf because the Temple practice facility was right by where I lived my sophomore year. And so, a couple guys would just go throw a football around. And, dude, everyone looked like they could run a 4-4. Like, everyone's just flying on that stuff. It was nuts. Because they had a practice facility or a practice AstroTurf because they played at the Vet when I was there. So they wanted to have the same surface. But yeah,
Exciting
it's sad
times.
for anyone who grew up in the 80s and loved AstroTurf. It's a sad day.
Did anybody love
Yeah.
AstroTurf? I don't think anybody loved AstroTurf, Alex.
I told you pre-show George Costanza loved AstroTurf.
He's a fictional character. I have news for you.
Don't
Is he,
ruin
though?
this for me. I've lived my whole life based on the assumption that he was real. No. Okay. Other.
I have
Uh,
our kicker,
Yeah.
Charlie Smythe.
Charlie Smythe. Tell us about Charlie Smythe.
Well,
Get to know Charlie Smythe.
he played. So, if you go to his Wikipedia page, apparently he is from Ireland. He's from Ireland, and he played Gaelic football. I'm not
Gaelic
sure if I know
football,
what
eh?
Gaelic football is, but that's what it says. And he began training to play in the NFL in January of 2024. And it looks like he had it looks like he signed with the Saints, but I don't see. Oh, never mind. He's not available. He's in the International Pathway Program. Okay, forget it. He's not available.
Dang it.
He's on the Saints. He's just in the International Pathway Program.
By the way,
Never
I
mind.
quickly Googled it. Gaelic football's along the lines of the NFL and soccer. It's another rugby variation. You know
Well,
how all
probably
those
more violent than the NFL.
all
would be
those
my
things
guess.
kind of spread out from each
Yeah.
other. It's like rugby, but you can only run with the ball 4 steps and then you have to pass it. So a little more action.
There you go. So forget I said all that. Charlie Smythe is not available.
Darn it.
Never mind.
Oh well. Well, worst case, I'll go start scouting some indoor football leagues, beer league stuff, and see if I can find us
You
somebody.
do that anyway.
I used to. I don't anymore because they're too hard to find their games. Like they don't even get them on YouTube half the time.
We
Very
were
difficult.
covering the Arena League and had trouble finding their games.
Yep, exactly. It's a
I think you were the
reason-
only reporter there at one of those.
I
things,
was.
wasn't it?
I was. Yeah.
That's pretty bad when the Hogstye is the only reporter
Yep.
outfit that's covering you.
Yeah.
It just shows commitment. That's all it shows.
It shows that I should have been committed.
Hey, I was willing to commit with you. I did a show with you, if I
You did.
recall.
You did, and no one listened.
Can you
All right. So let's
When
see.
watch the games? You think anybody's going to listen to our analysis of a game
Right.
they didn't watch?
I did still have season tickets and go to almost every game of that thing though. It was fun. Like they were enjoyable, but yeah.
Wasn't that fun? I mean, the game was interesting to watch. The one
Yeah.
I watched for you.
Yeah. All right. So minor stories. PFS ranks Sam Cosmi the 3rd best guard in the NFL. Steve, I just mentioned this just because we need to talk about something. and I know anytime I bring PFF onto the show, you're just
I
gonna
just don't like
fill with
frauds,
anger.
okay?
Yeah.
Because once again, for the millionth time, what PFF does, they have a bunch of chuckleheads sit and rate these people, and they give them numbers, and then they basically process these numbers through an Excel spreadsheet, and then they market these numbers as being objective reality. That is
Right.
what I don't like about it. It's a subjective rate. If they would just say we do subjective analysis and we rated him an 8, I'd be fine with it. But don't sit there and tell me that it's objective, particularly with offensive linemen, when there are no objective measurements for offensive linemen.
Right.
That's
I
my
mean,
problem. So if you want to call Sam Cosmi the third best or whatever, fine. But he's not. But okay. But don't tell me you have an objective rating for him.
so here's
Well,
the thing.
the biggest problem I have with PFF is that they make these assumptions on what the play should have been. When they
Mhm.
look at the play, it's like, well, he went, the running back went this way, but he should have but he should have done that. This play was designed to do this, but it did that. It's like, you're not in the huddle. You have no idea what these play calls are or what the hot reads may be or whatever the situation is on why
Yeah.
that play happened the way it did. And yet you want to sit there and say it wasn't supposed to go that way by design.
Mhm.
I would love to know how you know that.
I would be much happier if there were, and because I'm not going to do it, I don't have the attention span for this. But if there were a site that dedicated itself to trying to create numbers for all offensive line, I would be all for it. Like it would. I think it would really evolve a lot of people's, opinions if we did find ways to, like, calculate the number of times it looks like the sack is on this player.
But
I
that's
know
not
that.
objective. You don't
No,
know
I'm
what the
saying,
scheme is, and not you, but you
yeah,
don't know what the scheme is. I mean, and maybe the quarterback held the ball too long, and
sure.
it's
I
just
mean, all stats have to be taken with that into account
there.
in the
I just
NFL.
has convinced me yet that there's a way to objectively measure statistics for offensive linemen.
Well, but there are no statistics even.
That's my point.
Yeah.
So just call it what it is, which is an objective analysis of film, and
There
say I
was.
like Sam Cosmi. Okay,
Right.
fine. I
Right.
don't particularly. I mean, he's okay, but fine.
Now,
There
I mean,
was.
if you want to make an assessment like, the average time that a good offensive line has to hold a block is say like 3.2 seconds, and this offensive line group is averaging like right around 2.9, 3.0 seconds, but yet the quarterback is continuously getting sacked, but he's getting sacked at like the 3.5 second because, like you said, he's holding the ball on too long or
Right.
whatever it is. You want to start incorporating those kind of numbers. That's fine. I got no problem with that, but to correlate that into a grade for a particular offensive lineman, that doesn't work.
It's very hard to say it's all on one player if
Correct.
you're doing
Well,
those
remember,
kind of
like
analysis.
for example, like in Washington, RG3, that often he took a lot of sacks, if I
Right.
recall. And then they brought Kirk Cousins in there, and all of a sudden there weren't as many sacks. It was because of their play styles.
Right.
And I was one of the few. You can say what you want about RG3, but he was an effective quarterback. But he did have things to learn, and his play style caused more sacks to be get. I mean, and it was largely his fault. He held the
Right.
ball, all these things.
If he was doing non RPO stuff, and he had to get to that third read, he was done. He just wasn't doing it quickly enough.
And you could say the same thing about Russell Wilson.
Sure.
That's the way Russell Wilson plays.
You're gonna say the same thing about a lot of quarterbacks.
Well, I mean, we got done watching a year that was Sam Howell. I mean, Sam Howell, once he got past that first into his second and transitioned to a third, he took a long time. I mean, there was a lot of his sacks that were on him last year. I mean, but that's not absolving that horrific offensive line that was in front of him either, especially that turnstile at right tackle. But still, I mean, we saw that last year with Howell.
Yeah. I mean, there are. I would say there are ways that we could measure these players. It's not perfect.
I don't
but
think
they
there's
don't
a way
even
to
try.
measure an offensive lineman. I just don't. I'm sorry.
Well, that's fine. You can think that. I think you could say, all right, the last person to touch the defensive end was the left tackle.
Maybe it wasn't his role considering the scheme that was being played.
Well, he's a left tackle, and a sack got let up on his defensive end.
Maybe the tight end was maybe the tight end.
Maybe, but
maybe the running back was supposed to chip and failed.
You know what? We count interceptions if the ball's tipped.
Well, that's because it's an objective measurement. The quarterback threw the ball ended up in the hands of a defender. Period. Dot. The end.
Right. The left tackle touched the defensive end. The defensive end got the sack. Period. The end.
No, that's not the same. That is not. I don't think you can conclusively state that as an objective measurement.
I think right now we're just missing variables in terms of what the center called pre-snap at the line, what the quarterback changes at the line, if he makes the changes, and if he makes the changes, do the offensive linemen, make those appropriate changes? Was the changes even heard? And I mean, there's just so much to go into all that, to where that defensive end that came around the left tackle, maybe that was supposed to be a call where, the running back was supposed to come out and make a chip on that to help him, and he never did. And the left tackle was expecting that chip from the running back, but it never happened. And it blew him out.
You can make that argument about a lot of interceptions too. Maybe they audibled and the receiver didn't run the right route anymore. Maybe there's tons of variables to every mistake.
Yeah, but so the interception, that is an objective measurement. Now there may be explanations for why it happened, but the objective measurement is quarterback threw ball ended up in hands of defender. End of story. That's an objective statistical criteria. This percentage, I look at interception percentage all the time in quarterbacks, which is not something a lot of people do, but I look at it all the time. What quarterbacks' balls consistently get intercepted more than others? That's useful, but it's just not. I don't think that level of objectivity is in any way applicable to an offensive lineman.
I'm not saying it's going to be perfect, but I'm saying you could apply a lot of it to.
I don't think you can apply any of it to it.
Some data is better than zero data.
That's not data, though.
It is data. It's not perfect data. It's just.
It's not data. I think the only way to do it is have people who know what they're looking at, which is certainly none of us, and evaluate the effectiveness of those linemen.
I think that's the best way to build a good line. But it's better, and it's better than PFF, who doesn't put out any data. That's for sure. They just come up with the number.
Data. That's my whole problem.
Yeah.
And that, to his credit, I can't remember the guy's name who came on this show a couple of years ago. And he knew going into it that I didn't believe in him, and you didn't really either. But
I don't believe in them still. I'm saying I think there could be a way to do it.
I don't.
The NFL years ago, and they only did this for 1 year and got rid of it. They tried to evaluate running back effectiveness via which gap. So they would say, like, this line group, like let's say the Redskins, the running back averaged 4.4 going outside the left. They averaged 3.8 going in the A gap on the left, B gap, and just they broke it all down like that. Is it perfect data? No, but it's better than nothing. It was very insightful to see that and say, oh, we are really bad at running to behind the right guard.
Yeah, but there's an objectivity to that, which is what we can conclusively and objectively measure. How many yards did they gain through these gaps?
Right.
That's an objective
but gaps
measurement.
are not perfect either,
no,
depending on how the line moves.
No, it's not, but at least there's an objective component to it.
Right. And there's an objective component to trying to figure out who's at fault for every sack.
That's not objective.
Just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's not.
No,
it's very
there's not an objective component. There is no objectivity to that. It is a subjective. It is not a measurement of anything. It is not a statistic. It is an evaluation, and you're right about that. There is not a statistical objective measurement to be had. The only thing you can measure maybe is the length of time you're holding a block.
Well, you can definitely measure that.
Yeah.
And they don't even measure that.
Right. They don't.
And that goes back to what Dave was saying is something that could be measured.
Tell you what, let's just fight about it. You want to fight about it?
We're fighting about it now. That's the fun part.
No, I mean, like, let's, rumble. Let's rumble about it.
What's the in-between point between
Steve, you already need you already needed your life alert in the beginning of the show to begin with anyway. I don't think you're ready for a fight.
I think I am. I'm not afraid of anything, man. Throw me out there.
All right, we should talk about the quarterbacks because we do have to talk about
Oh yeah,
the
quarterbacks.
position group. Yeah.
This is our annual position group breakdown effort. This is our way of filling some time in the slow season mainly, but the real point of it is
Other than us arguing about analytics.
yeah, but the real point of these is where we came up with this. I think this might have been my idea. I can't remember,
It was definitely your idea.
Yeah. So after free agency, after the draft, let's take a new look at Washington's roster group by group and do a deep dive into it and see where they ended up.
Where are they now?
Yes. Right. And so my turn has rolled around with quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a small group, but I think there's a surprising number of questions here. So obviously Jane Daniels, I listed him in the by the way, we're publishing the written version of this every week. We do it on the air. So check out the in columns. I listed Jane Daniels as a probable starter, mainly because I had to list somebody. Sure. But I think this is question number one. And we've been over this Jaden Daniels stats a million times. I don't necessarily want to bore people with that here. He won every award basically in college football last year.
He played very well.
Yeah, runner, all of that. We've talked about it.
Yep.
So the first question I think for you guys and for the analysis is Washington going to start Jaden Daniels day one, or is Marcus Mariota going to start? And are they going to ease him in? Personally, I listed Daniels as a probable starter because I don't think any team's going to have patience anymore. But that's the question to you guys.
And I agree with you. Probably. Do I think he should? I'm old school and think you should probably give Mariota a couple starts just to let him ease into the process of the NFL. But and also maybe see if you have a left tackle who's not going to get him killed. That's actually my number one priority is for starting Mariota. Is I don't care if Marcus Mariota gets hurt. And I very much care if Jaden Daniels gets hurt.
I'm laughing with you, not at you.
Yes. No, I know. So,
Dave,
quite frankly, I got two names that leads me to believe or leads me to feel that I want Mariota to start the year. That would be Cornelius Lucas and Tyler. Is it Tyler, right? Tyler Allegretti or Nick Allegretti?
Nick, I believe.
The name. Yeah. Nick Allegretti? Yeah, Nick Allegretti. When you're talking about Cornelius Lucas, who hasn't played, he's played more. He started more than 8 games in 1 year in 2020, I think it was, with Washington. Yeah. Allegretti's had a total of 13 combined starts in his 5 total years, and he could wind up being a fine guard. I get that, but that entire left side protecting his blind side, I have no idea how effective they're going to be. Put Mariota out there for the first couple games. Get the offensive line ironed out, get Daniels ready for the speed of the NFL, and slowly integrate him back in. Will they do that? I agree with you, Steve. Probably not. But that I feel they need to do, not because Daniels isn't good enough. I just think it's because I don't want him being a sacrificial lamb to a unit that we have no idea how effective they're going to be, especially on the left side.
Yeah, I'd like to put Washington's new starting left tackle into context, which is to say Cornelius Lucas, which is to say he wasn't good enough to be anything more than a swing tackle for Ron Rivera. And now he's the starter protecting the number 2 pick in the draft, who I would like to point out in my analysis, what I observed, because I watched a lot of Daniels film when I did the quarterback draft piece. He takes, and this is not breaking news here, but he takes a lot of huge hits.
He does.
Jaden Daniels does not know the concept yet of throw the ball away. And his first instinct is not to step up in the pocket like Tom Brady, climb the pocket, a step or two, get rid of the ball. His instinct is to run. Mm-hmm. And so when you have that, you have to have an offensive line that can, 1, move, and 2, block. And I don't know if they can do either one of these. So I agree with, I think both of you say it? I know Alex said it.
Yeah, I definitely we both said the same thing.
Okay, yeah. That you definitely should start Mariota at first to see at a minimum for a while to see what happens. But I just don't think they're going to do that. In terms of Mariota, I think when I was kind of reviewing Mariota for this, I noticed that he was much more. I'd forgotten this. he was much more of a runner in college.
Yeah.
Than he is in the pros. He ran a 4.52 40-yard dash. And I think, Dave, you might have said it during the pre-draft part, which is maybe we can see a little bit about what Washington was thinking about who they were going to draft based on the fact that they signed Mariota. One of us said that. I don't remember who said it.
I was saying that, yes.
Okay. And I think that's true because Mariota can kind of play the same game as Daniels. At least much you're going to get out of a backup journeyman quarterback like this.
Yeah.
Right.
And so he's a pro. He's going to be competent. He's not going to win the player of the year or anything. But I think he's a decent backup.
He's definitely a decent backup. He's I think he's a fairly consistent player. If you were to go back and really look at, I know his numbers have been up and down. Never had a great year that I can remember, even when he was a full-time starter. But like, you're going to get a consistent level of kind of average play from him.
Yeah.
If he ends up starting a game or two, you'll get 200-ish yards, maybe a touchdown, probably an interception with it. But he's not going to melt down. He's not going to,
And I don't think they're going to have to change too much of the offense when he's in there either.
Right.
No.
And that's a big thing.
And that's, I think, what Dave, you were getting at when you said that, weeks or months ago.
And plus, this I believe won't be the Mariota how he ended his time in Atlanta, where he basically just walked down this team. That whole situation there with, how they went to Desmond Ridder, how they transitioned over, and how they kind of handled and everything, especially since he was brought into that team to be their starter for the kind of foreseeable future, not long term, but at least here he understands what his role is. So it's not like he's expecting to be a 3-4 year starter for this team and have the opportunity to be our franchise guy. He knows that this is Jaden Daniels' job at some point this year. Mm-hmm. So I'm not worried about that kind of a mentality from Mariota. But I think Mariota's a competent quarterback. I think he's okay. I mean, like you said, Steve, he's not going to put this team basically on his shoulders and do much of anything. But in terms of for championship wise, or even a playoffs for that matter.
I also think he's got a level head. He's not going to bring drama. He's not a diva.
No.
And like you said, he knows the situation. He knows that this is Jaden Daniels' team. But I think he's mentally stable enough, which is something you can't say about every quarterback or every player or every person for that matter. But I think he'll probably be a pretty good influence, on Daniels, and that's what they want. Okay, so the next big question here, and because we have to have these debates here in the Hogsty, there are two more quarterbacks on the roster, Sam Hartman and Jeff Driscoll. Now, I understand Sam Hartman is making females drool from his looks and stuff. That's not going to help him in football necessarily. So let's start with him for no reason. He is signed as an undrafted rookie free agent, 6'1", 211. Spent 6 years in college football, 5 at Wake Forest, final year at Notre Dame, 59.8% completion percentage, 49 interceptions. I noticed when I looked at him, and I'm not going to pretend like I watched as much film of him as I did for Jaden Daniels, okay? But he's got mechanical problems, and he was inaccurate. He doesn't have elite arm strength, a lot of interceptions. So he's got his work cut out for him. Before I get to Driscoll, because there's a question here, does any of you have comments on Hartman?
Well, for what little I've seen from him in training camp, especially when he's throwing next to Jaden Daniels, he just looks so inferior next to Jaden Daniels. Which, granted, you hope to see that. You don't want to see him in par with him anyway. But you see him putting balls in the dirt. You see him just overthrowing the routes. It's just throwing behind receivers all the time, and it's just. At least Driscoll, he's not a great player, but at least I think he's got a little better arm than that. I don't even see. I'd see Hartman as a taxi squad guy at the best, or practice squad guy at the best.
Well, that brings us to the question. Alex, do you have any comments on Hartman?
No, I'm kind of with it.
Okay.
With
right.
Dave there.
So let's go over
type.
Driscoll next before we get to the question,
Right.
which is the obvious question: what happens? But so Driscoll is more along. Hartman's a bit small.
Mm-hmm.
Driscoll, on the other hand, is 6'4", 235. So he's as tall as Daniels, but 20 pounds heavier, maybe 15 pounds heavier. 6th round pick by the 49ers in 2016. University of Florida and in Louisiana Tech. So he does have some stats in the NFL. 600. He's completed 607 of 1,000 pass attempts, which is 60% completion percentage. 50 touchdowns, 28 interceptions. Also fairly fast for a big, especially for a big guy. Ran the 40 in 4.56 seconds. Jumped 32 inches. He's played for all the teams. He's moved around a ton. 49ers cut him, went to the Bengals, Lions, Broncos, Texans, Cardinals, Browns. He's been freaking everywhere. In total, Driscoll's played 24 games, 12 starts, 58.6 completion percentage, career quarterback rating of 79.4. So the question, which I was leading to with all this, is what does Washington do about this? My natural inclination is to say, well, Driscoll's more experienced. You make him, if they're going to keep a third, it needs to be him. And I think Hartman could be a good practice squatter, but I don't know we don't even know if they're going to keep 3 at all on the roster.
Well,
Right.
so
what's your thoughts?
Here, my thought is this. One, I don't remember if they still have the rule where you can keep someone on the practice squad who's a vested veteran or whatever it is. Like,
Yes, they do.
That you can still put
Yeah.
guys who have been around for a while on the
Yes.
squad like that. I think one of them goes on the squad because I believe now you can game day, you can call up your practice squad.
You can elevate. Yeah.
And it doesn't count against you. So I think that might be the approach. Now, if they decide to do this with a 30-year-old like Driscoll versus a rookie, I understand why Driscoll's gonna, be more seasoned. He's not a good quarterback by any.
No, he's a career third stringer.
Yeah, he's a career third stringer. He's 1-10 on his career in terms of wins and losses. So I don't know if I fully like if.
Well, look at who he's played with. On the other hand.
Yeah, true. And let's be honest. Either of these guys goes into the game, you're losing the game, right? Like that. That's both their situations at this point.
They better hope a running back somebody, Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson, or Chris Rodriguez can run a lot.
I might trust Luke McCaffrey to be our quarterback.
Was a former quarterback, wasn't
he? Yeah, he was former quarterback.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So.
Dave, your thoughts?
Yeah.
I disagree with that with Alex and all that. I just think they keep more towards the veteran side at number 3 spot instead of Hartman. I don't even think saying you're going to make the practice squad, I think is a stretch to begin with anyway, to be honest with you. But that's how I see it unfold. I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to keep 4 quarterbacks in any capacity during the regular season. So it's going to be one of the. I think they will keep a third. I think they'll stash the third on the practice squad because that's a smart thing to do. And if you need to elevate somebody, you can elevate somebody. And I forgot the rule right now. It's escaping me, but there's also some kind of emergency quarterback rule where somebody can be active if everybody else got hurt or something like that.
Right.
So there's no real reason to keep 4. So yeah, I think automatically. You got to say Driscoll has the upper hand over Hartman, maybe, but Hartman's going to get his chance. We'll see if he can play, and he's going to get a legitimate shot.
And I'll throw this out there as another reason where that might favor Driscoll. You already have a rookie quarterback on the roster. He's your future franchise quarterback. It doesn't usually make sense from a team building perspective, I don't think, to have multiple young guys on the roster. If your young guy is going to be the future franchise guy, make that your young guy. And, putting 2 veterans around him as opposed to a veteran and another kid, just seems a little more fundamentally sound.
Driscoll may not be the veteran you don't want around him, but yes, I accept your point generally.
Yes. Broadly speaking, 2 30-year-olds, because I think they're both in their 30s.
Around that. Driscoll's a 2016 draft pick, so, 8 years, so he's probably somewhere around 30.
Yeah. They're not. They're gonna say, "Hey, no, don't go partying the night before the game, please. Like, come study." Although, from what it sounds like Daniels is more the bookworm.
Yeah, I don't think
work.
Daniels is as dumb as some of these other young kids.
No,
I think he's a pretty
but
smart guy.
and that's
Together,
maybe not the best example of what they'll tell him. But the little things. Hey,
Right.
don't forget to pack, certain clothing items.
He's not going to pull a Manziel.
No.
No.
But having a couple guys who've been in the league for a while is probably smarter.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we're universal in that. It sounds like then.
Yeah. Sam Hartman, welcome to the DC Defenders next year.
Yeah, exactly. and what was his name? Daniels. What's his name? I just said his name. Driscoll. Jeff Driscoll. Welcome to maybe the practice squad.
Yeah. I mean,
you'll be elevated if Marcus Mariota gets hurt. You might get elevated.
Right. So if I remember, the rule it's that the practice squad guy can be active on game day, but if he can only play if your other two quarterbacks are done for the game.
It's something like that. Something along those lines. Right.
Like once he's up, they can't go back in.
Right.
I thought that was just for the starter. At the starter.
No, I think it's both starter and backup.
I think it's both. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the goal would be to keep you from having to throw like the tight end in there, like have a real game with a real quarterback.
Right.
So that's quarterbacks, kids. No surprises at the top. We all think universally, we don't even need to go around the room here. We all think Jay Daniels is going to start, even though none of us think he should start immediately. Marcus Mariota.
Not a knock against him.
No, just
not
generally.
at all.
Yeah, just generally, considering the level of the offensive line tragedy that they have going on. So there you go. And then Jeff Driscoll will be around somewhere. Sam Hartman probably will be working at Burger King.
He's a Notre Dame quarterback. Joe Theismann will, hire him at Theismann's Steakhouse. At the very least.
Yeah, there you go. He'll be the server. He'll be like the person who seats you at the Theismann Steakhouse.
Oh, I was thinking like sushi.
I don't know. With the way the women gravitate to him, there's a few different types of style films he could probably do. But hey,
oh my goodness, it's a family show, Dave.
Hey, I kept it clean.
All right, wrapping up. Speaking of family shows, there was.
Maybe he has people who are only fans. You don't know.
You never know.
Right.
You never know anymore. But I do want to put this out there for all the local fans that WUSA 9 has a deal now with the Washington football team to basically, I believe the preseason games were on ABC the last few years, and now it's going to be on CBS. So it's going to be your preseason. It's going to be pregame, postgame shows will all be done there. It's Chick Hernandez, Brian Mitchell, and Logan Paulson in the preseason games.
Did we ever have Chick Hernandez on? I don't think we ever did we?
No, we definitely did.
We did have. I thought we had Chick Hernandez at one point.
Because I remember mentioning to him because a buddy of mine or my former coworker worked with him for years, and just like telling him how everything he said was always Chick was the best.
Yeah, I thought we had him on, and we had Brian Mitchell on too.
Yeah, my buddy
time
who worked
to get it back on.
Yeah, maybe.
That's true. Dave wants to do these interviews.
Yeah. My buddy who worked at Comcast Sports back when there was Comcast Sports, he always said Chick Hernandez and Trevor Maddich were like the two best guys that he ever worked with.
Fair enough.
So, yep. All right, guys. That should wrap up the show. We Steve and I have to go duel, I think. Pistols at dawn. I hope your flintlock's in good shape.
I'm in Texas and Alex is in DC, so it'll be a long shot.
Well, dueling's still legal down there, I think. So.
We encourage it. Are you kidding me? A valid way to end an argument down here in Texas.
All right, guys. We will talk to you all next week.
All right, later.